Hello, my name is Janice Bequette and I'm running for Anastasia Mosquito Control Seat 3. I have over 20 years of experience in the environmental health and safety field. I am a certified safety professional. In addition, when I was elected to the board after the 2008 election, I went ahead and got my Florida pest control license. So I took the test and have the same certification as our inspector sprayers have. What I bring to the table is, one, my record, which is that I'm fiscally conservative and that I'm able to bring collaboration and consensus amongst the board using public input, and I have good problem-solving skills.
Good. Okay, we'll start with a couple of questions. As you know, there are opponents, and one of the issues that have been attributed to the opponents is that they're hoping to move the mosquito control district back under the control of the county government. Who do you stand on that issue?
So I firmly believe and was very active in 2010 when the county tried to go in front of the delegation, the legislative delegation, to assume control of mosquito control. I firmly believe that the data that they're working from is inaccurate, and we tried as a board to meet with them to review the differences of information. They never even came to our district and met with our people to get information for the phase 2 study that was performed. I believe that mosquito control is very critical to our local economy in regards to the amount of tourism that we have, and that you need a special oversight, and that's why we are a special district. It would have to go in front of the voters to make that change.
Okay. Your commission is eating into its reserves to keep the budget balanced. How long can they do that before you have to start to raise taxes or cut services?
So if you look at our reserve fund, each year, of course, we budget for storms, right? Chemicals, we have contract for aerial if we need, like we did have to use earlier this year. We can't go less than $1.5 million. If you get less than $1.5 million, and you put the county in jeopardy if we did have several storms in a row that we would not be able to respond as we needed. And we can't rely on FEMA because they're a little longer into the process. It's not like you would get money right away from FEMA to be able to do what we would need to do. So we cannot go below $1.5 million.
Okay, and you're now at what, 3.5?
Yeah, give and take. Yeah.
And you're going to that about how many hundreds of thousands a year?
So over the past 3 years, we have taken money from the reserve to help with the deficit. We have not increased the millage. We've even been below the rollback rate. So the rate that we were given, we've stuck with the 0.1325. In discussions at the board, essentially what we've done is the 1.8 to 2.1, depending on how you look at it, that was taken from the taxpayers to buy a helicopter. Essentially, we've given that back to the taxpayers. We've righted that wrong by using the funds for aerial, because we don't have any plans to purchase a helicopter or a fixed wing or anything like that. That hasn't even come in front of our board for a decision, other than in the 5-year plan, and we would not approve the aerial support. You know, we have one board member who's very pro aerial support and wanted that in the 5-year plan, and we would not approve that. But essentially, we've been able to give back to the taxpayers the funds that were taken from them wrongly to purchase aerial support.
Okay, you own a big chunk of land, beautiful place, very high elevation. Nothing on it. What do you see as the use of that land in the future?
So right now, we use that land, and we use that land for our applied research activities. So
do you have a building on it?
We do not have a building on it, but we have lots of other things. For instance, we have we did one study last year with forgive me because I forget the name of the active, but it's the same active that's in the trifexa that you put on your cats and dogs to help with heartworm. We did one study with that for larva control, so we had a bunch of tires out there. We had through actually 4 different sites because we had a control, and we did research with that. Not even a month ago, we're I want to talk about this more than right now, so I hope I get to get back to it. But one of the studies that we're doing is in regards to, we have to apply per the label requirements, and we were able to prove last year and have the EPA change the label rate so instead of applying an ounce per gallon of water, we're able to drop that in half. And so we're furthering that study now so that we can use less pesticides. So you can go out there at any time and see any kind of research. You might see sticks that are in the ground in a grid-like form where we actually, the mosquitoes that we grow, we put them there, and then we'll do with the truck and watch the drift and see what the kill rate is with the less. So we do activities out there now. But we have approved an RFP for putting a chemical storage building out there. Right now, our hurricane plan says that if we did have a storm, that we would actually go out to the fairground. We have agreement with the county, which is higher ground, and that's where we would take our chemicals. We wouldn't leave our chemicals on the island or anything like that, and that's been our plan like since 2006. But we are pursuing putting a building there now for chemical storage, so we have to get the cost on that.
Okay, you don't know the cost?
We just okayed them getting the RFP.
Okay, what's the long term? Some people would like to have the offices that are on the island moved there. Where do you stand on that?
So where I stand on centralization, if that's the question, and it's firmly in the record, I did not vote for centralization, and right now I'm not an advocate for centralization. We have several things going on in the community that we have to be concerned with. I'm not an advocate for selling the Ponte Vedra property, if that's also a question that you're going to ask me.
Not now.
If you look at if you look at how we're arranged here, right? We have the north station, if you will. We have the Ponte Vedra property, we have the base station, and then we have in the middle the 16 and 95. I support keeping the Ponte Vedra because of Nocatee and the population growth there. I don't think it's wise in this economy to sell property and then once that all builds up to buy it back, because we would pay a lot more than what we're going to get for our property now. And I think that having a station there is critical in servicing those people. The one thing that we're missing is the south. Right now we lease from the city of Hastings, which is our lease, even though it's very small, is one of their biggest revenue sources. That population growth, although before the economy hit, looked like it was going to be a lot bigger than it is, but that area in regards to the terrain and the mosquitoes, if you will, that grow out there, and the population that the rest of the county gets from that area. And remember that Palatka doesn't have a large mosquito control, and mosquitoes get in the wind currents and can go up to 20 miles, 2 miles easily, up to 20 if they get in the wind currents. So my opinion now, especially even based on information that we have, and also one of the things that I've done as an individual, not cost to the taxpayers, is visited a lot of the other districts, some that are part of county, some that are not part of county, some that are independent like us. And the people that I have talked to that went to centralized stations wish they would have never done that. Okay, you have beaches over there. There's a couple south of us, Volusia, that wish they never would have given that up because they really lost a lot of their flexibility. Some of the studies that have been done, well, the Dames and Beidler in 2009 that we did, they said we need to research into it and see if there's more and do some cost analysis. Cost analysis that was done in 2010 with like 6 different drivers. 2 it saved money on, 2 it didn't, and 2 it was the same. But in the wash, it was equal, So I haven't seen any data that says going to centralization will save us money. We did a pilot program last summer where we had people leave their vehicles at Ponte Vedra and do their service routes from there. And again, it wasn't any large cost savings at all to function that way. But I am not, at this point, with no data to support it, a fan of centralization. I think that we need to be where our populations are so that we can get there quicker and service them better. Sometimes do people from the North Station have to come to the base station? Absolutely, because we have training or we have other things. But we try to manage that to minimize any impact. Another thing about centralization is the gas prices. And the more they go up, the least cost effective centralization is going to be.
Okay, so what are you going to do with that land on at 16 and 95?
I don't know what we're going to do with the land on 16 and 95. Right now, because of the economy, and also remember we gave away part of that land. If we sold the land, it would be at a significant loss of the taxpayers' money. So right now, we're just kind of riding the tide to see what happens, which is what a lot of people are doing with their own property. So.
Okay, and what about Hastings? You were starting to
So
Hastings,
down there. So Hastings, so leasing is, we're getting nothing back for that money, right? So I would like to see if we could purchase something more down there, or do something at 16 where we didn't lease anymore. And you know, we have 2 people down there and a seasonal, so it's not a large staff. Some sort of, not a $3.1 million building like was proposed to us, but some sort of something on 16 to get us out of that lease money so that we can save that money and be getting something back, a little return, instead of it just going out.
How much are you paying for that lease?
I think it's like $800 a month. It's not that much. It's a lot to the town of Hastings, though. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of money to that town of Hastings.
$9,600 a year, you're correct, is not a lot. But if you were to drop $100,000 to buy property,
that's a lot, yeah. That is a lot, yeah. But could we put some sort of building on 16, some sort of building like the temporary classrooms are, maybe, and they work out of that, and it, somehow, till we find out what's going on with the economy, it's a possibility.
One of the issues that surprised me when I came here 8 years ago was how political the mosquito control district is. And perhaps you were aware of how acrimonious it has been at times since you've been sitting up there. The tone appears to have changed. Is that an accurate comment? Has the tone changed?
So it has. So when I was elected, the day they swore us in 2009, I was also elected as chair. And if you go back and look at those minutes, it was 4-1, and I was the one that voted against me, because it was the currents on the board at that time, and becoming a new commissioner to be chair also, was not anything that I was really interested in. But I was chair because majority rules, and that year I believe we had 26 meetings that year. Some were Saturdays. What we did try to do was work through things. We have our board members then and now have great passion and love for this county, great thoughts, great beliefs. They might come across different, but at the end of the day, everybody really wanted the same thing. We worked through those. We have things come up like that, even at our meetings from, maybe not that extreme, but at our meetings from public comments not on the agenda. And we are able to, as a board, be professional and to listen and to work through those things. And I do think that there has been a change. I'm chair again this year, and I can tell you it is significantly different than it was in 2009.
No one shot you? Okay.
Yeah, not yet, not that I'm aware of.
Dr. Linzer came in and spoke to us, and he's an expert in mosquitoes and also a candidate for another seat. Told us that within 5 years there could be significant change in mosquito control because of something that's coming down the line.
Genetically modified, or was it something else?
Well,
mosquitoes.
But that's what I was going to ask you. Are you aware of what the changes are likely to happen in mosquito control prevention? And are you familiar with these things?
Some. I wouldn't pretend to be as experienced and as well-read as Dr. Linzer in this category. Again, being on the board isn't just about knowing about mosquitoes, it's also knowing how to handle a budget and, work with people and all that. But one of the things that I did last year, and again, no taxpayer money involved, I went to China, and I actually spoke at an international conference. I submitted a paper and spoke, and as part of that, I was able to hear a lot of things on an international level, what is going on with mosquito control. Being part of the FMCA, which is the Florida Mosquito Control, we're able to attend meetings where we learn on a state level what is going on. And then also at the same time, I've never went to the American mosquito control, but I read the stuff that comes out from them. There are a lot of different things on the horizon. Most people are unaware of pathogens with diseases that people in Italy have to deal with now. It's like chicka something, it's a really long word, and essentially it's bent over disease. If you get bitten by a mosquito that carries that pathogen, you walk bent over till you get better, and sometimes people don't get better. There are diseases that people in America are not aware of. We don't have those mosquitoes that carry those types of diseases, the vectors, right? But if you'll remember, before around, the late 90s, 99 or so, we didn't know about West Nile virus, right? And we know about that now, right? So not only are there emerging diseases, there's emerging technology also. There's technology in regards to biologicals, pesticides. There's not a lot of development in pesticides. It's not a big market, right? And the regulatory bodies are very difficult in getting new pesticides approved. But there's interesting things going on where you can take a probe, if you will, and put it in a water source, and it only kill the larvae and the pupae, right? And not harm the frogs. They're still developing some of that, right? But there's innovative materials being developed, and also there's a patch now that they're working on. Like, you can wear this patch, and for like 3 days, mosquitoes won't bother you just by wearing a patch, but how safe is that patch? And what are the long-term effects of that? And you have to think of it all the way through from when you dispose of that patch. Is it gonna harm our environment when it goes to a landfill? So there are a lot of diseases that could change mosquito control. There's a lot of technology in regards to tools, materials to fight mosquito control. Genetically modified mosquitoes it's been around here. It's like on a radio show, I believe, and there's been some newspaper stuff. There's a lot of controversy over that. They're using it in other countries. They had talked of using it in the Keys that have dinghy, right, in the Keys, but and a way you can use it there is a little different because they're kind of an island where we're not. But the United States of America doesn't have the controls around genetically modified mosquitoes to make sure that the only thing they did was breed with their own and stop the disease. There's a lot more involved with it than that. So there's a lot of things out there in addition to what we see today.
About a year ago, the 450th and the Chamber of Commerce went to you folks and said basically shut up over possibility of threats over diseases coming in for the 450th. What's your take on that?
So my take is, what an unfortunate situation. All that we had requested for was for them to come, for the city to come and tell us what's going on, what kind of events they're having or whatever. And the reason for that is because we do a lot of things that you might not see, might not be a part of, like the amphitheater. If the amphitheater is going to have an event, we don't go to spray because that's illegal, but we can up surveillance around that to see if there's the indication that we need to do something or the evidence that we need to do something. So if we knew they had this calendar. So what is the calendar so we can try to use our resources the most effectively to support them in their effort? Didn't come, no show, call, can't come, and then when they did come, this gentleman essentially accused us of that. And I said in my thing that I didn't understand where he was coming from, because I didn't know anybody that had said that or any dialogue at a board meeting to support that. So I don't really understand how that happened, but once I'm glad that he said it so that we could be aware that that was out there. But in all honesty, all we want to do is partner with the city and leverage our resources to protect everyone that participates in the 450th activities.
Okay, thank you.
Let me go back to the budget and the deficit. And I think Pete asked, I never really heard, how much deficit this year will you run, do you think?
So we're looking at about 2.8, and I want to say it's about 300,000.
Okay, and in the past couple of years, it's been similar?
Yeah, it's been a little less than that. It's a little more this year than the past 2 years.
And the last 2 or 3 years have actually been pretty dry, so you really haven't had a major effort underway. So at what point do you see a millage increase? Because operational costs are certainly not going to go down, and you can't survive at $300,000 to $500,000 chunks coming off your reserve for very long. So what is your view on that? Where do you think financially the mosquito control district is headed?
So this year there was a vote at the table, but it failed to go to the rollback rate, right? I feel that if not next year, the following year, we'll have to at a minimum go back to the rollback rate. Which
would that balance it, do you think?
It would have come pretty close this year.
Okay.
Where do you stand on that rollback rate?
It's a tough one because I'm not even going to begin to say, oh, it's only 80 cents per household, because every little bit matters, whether it's 80 cents or $80. But to be able to effectively do what we do and to continue the community outreach, which is critical, because we can't do mosquito control by ourselves if everyone in the county is raising their own mosquitoes in their backyard. We're going to have to go back to the rollback rate. We can't, 1.5 million is the point we can't get below, but a cushion above that is where I'm comfortable. I don't want to go to just to 1.5, so.
1.5, you have no flexibility. You
At
can't do anything
1.5,
else.
yeah, that's right.
Can't do
Yeah.
anything else. One of the folks who was running for mosquito control made several comments about over purchasing of items like 2 boats, computers for thousands of dollars, yada yada yada. I just wanted to come back to that. In fact, the comment was 4 computers for $6,000, and they said they could go to Office Max and buy one for $350. Could you answer that question?
So I think that was a budget item early in our budget process this year, and it didn't pass the first muster of it when it went in front of the board. So that's already changed, but at the same time, so I bought one of those $350 computers, and I can honestly say it would reduce our efficiency, plus it wouldn't be able to it doesn't have enough memory and everything else to hold our map vision and our VCMS.
I agree. Margaret?
Okay. And along with those lines, there was also a question about the technology that you wanted to increase for, what, $900,000 or something. It was a pretty high number. I may not have the zeros right. But the question...
90.
90.
Software.
90.
Map vision.
90,000. Map vision.
Yeah.
And that it was said that you didn't really need that to commit to kill mosquitoes. But then I talked to someone at Mosquito Control about it, who said, well, this gets us away from paper and pads, and it has an enhanced GPS, and our agents in the field can just use this machine, and all the data feeds back to the database. So where did you stand on that software enhancement?
Efficiency-wise, it is the right thing to do. We spend a lot of time administratively documenting the things that we have to document to prove that we're using the pesticides appropriately, such as wind speed, right? Other things like that. If, UPS does it, FedEx does it. If you can be right there and push in the things you need versus having to write it down and then go back and put it in a system, in a $350 computer back at the station or whatever, it increases our efficiency. Plus, less errors in regards to transferring the information from paper into the system, and also can increase our speed of response because we have the information quicker on a more real-time basis.
Okay. You mentioned you need more coverage in the southern area, and you're leasing this space. What is it? Is it a station, or is it like a storage area for chemicals? What are you leasing from Hastings?
So when I say we need more coverage, I don't want people to think that we don't need any coverage down there because nobody lives down there, because people do live down there. You know what I mean? So we have to provide coverage in that area because that area does impact the rest of the county. We actually lease part of a building from them, and it's got, I can't remember if it's 2 or 3 bays for our vehicles down there. Has a little bitty office area, a bathroom. It has some chemical storage, a place that we can mix our chemicals. Rents, things like that.
Now, but you know, you say because we don't have houses down there.
We do. No, we do have. I don't want people say that. I don't say that. I know we do.
But we also have a lot of timber and a lot of farmland, and whether there's a building on it or not, mosquitoes still breed.
Exactly.
And they kind of invite themselves more into those wonderful areas, you know, that aren't inhabited by people and grow on that. So it just seemed to me that the level of need in the south and southwestern part of the county is probably the greater need at this time.
So one of the things about the farms is they kind of put out their own stuff. A lot of the farms do. We don't engage with the farms nearly as much as we do other places. You're exactly right with the coverage, right, of trees, the canopy. It's a lot more physical down there. That's why we have those people down there. I can tell you there are people that live down there, and they're very concerned. And when I speak with them, they're scared to death we're going to pull people away from that area. And that's not, you know, we put 1 full-time seasonal down there. We increased by 1 head count from May to October in that specific area.
So what would be the plan for the southwestern area for coverage and attacking the mosquito population?
So what we did, we've done several studies as a board, and one of them that we did was we went through and we redrew our lines of coverage, right? So the people in that area were a little bit more servicing all the way up, more like up to 16 and 13. They had a bigger area. So what we've done with our resources is we redefine the areas that they're responsible for so that the other inspectors are headed more south now than they used to be, so that we can really focus on the Flagler Estates area in particular.
And one more thing, I know Putnam County has all the fields and you really don't see the county lines, so are you working with Putnam County on all those mosquitoes that are flying east?
Yeah, so we do. You know, we even loaned equipment to Baker County when they were having all their problems here after all that significant rainfall and stuff. And collaboration with Duval County, just as important with West Nile right now. I mean, what about that county line, and look where those cases are, right? So we try to, even with East Flagler, also who has mosquito control, try to leverage with them and make sure that, hey, what are you doing? This is what we're doing. Or if they're not doing anything, then maybe we need to move some resources to manage that, because no control's not any good.
Being reactive. They have aerial in Flagler?
Absolutely. They had that helicopter crash, remember, a few years ago?
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah.
But they do have that potential for you to lease time from them and
so I don't
service.
So we have looked into that before, and unfortunately when they need it is generally when we need it.
Okay.
So.
We come back to something you said I thought was great about everybody growing their own little crop of mosquitoes.
Yes, sir.
Tell me about what you think about your educational efforts and how they are, and how you would think to improve that.
Well, I think our educational efforts are improving. The education committee and our people that help with that are amazing. But one thing that we've done is got that certification so that when we go into the classroom, that counts at whatever hours it is they have to have, right? Where we're trying to break into, which we're still trying and will continue is homeowners associations. If the homeowners associations would let us just come and speak or just come give some information, right? We do have partnerships with some of the management groups here, you know, but in regards to being able to get in and say, you know, but with our map vision and our online service request system, the people that check, come on to my property and look around, and that we're able to educate and, you know, here's where they're growing or here's where they're growing, you know, and show them, sometimes do a little dip and show you got larvae growing right here. Their return, we need service, is significantly lower than the people that just say, hey, I need you to fog. You know, so I know when we can get out there and do it. So we're trying, like, I think the Think It Up Pink or something that's coming on, we're going to go to that. We're paying $100 and we're going to go because we think we can get a lot of people there. You know what I mean? Different events we're trying to get out to, not just the schools. Schools are important, but adults are also important in regards to education.
What's the problem with homeowners associations? Do they just worry about the PR to future buyers?
Well, I don't know.
The mosquito-laden.
All of the commissioners, I believe, bring different things to the table, and Commissioner Browning kind of has some connections to the realtors or whatever. So we were able to get all the list of homeowners associations, and we made contact with them, but it was only 2 or 3 that wanted us to come and do anything. And so maybe repetition, I'm thinking maybe with this outbreak of West Nile, maybe they'll want us, you know, to come.
Yeah, but mostly in my neighborhood, the homeowners never meet.
Oh, really?
The association meets, but not the owner.
Yeah.
So,
Probably a good point.
Okay.
Okay, I have one question. Do you have any specific goals for the district in the near future?
So my goals would be to be more innovative and to continue with our integrated pest management. And what that is surveillance, reduced pesticide use, and community outreach. One of my big concerns, I have 2 big concerns. One is resistance, and the mosquitoes becoming resistant to what we're putting out. And so that's why I'm very proud that last year we were able, no money from our district, money from the manufacturer, to do the test to support the label change with the EPA. Half the label amount, that's amazing, right? Because that's less chance of the mosquitoes becoming resistant. One of the things we've implemented in the past couple of years also is a bit of a rotation of our chemicals that we didn't have before. Again, the resistance thing. In Texas, over by Houston a few years ago, they had, their mosquitoes became resistant. It took them over 18 months to find something that would work. You know, and so we don't have that time. It would impact our economy just by the tourism itself, our how we live and enjoy it here. We wouldn't be able to go outside, you know, so it would impact our quality of life. We just can't have that. My other concern is what our employees do is very physical. The average pay is $15 an hour, give or take a little. I worry that, yes, the economy's bad and anybody's willing to do anything. That's not really the truth. And although we're lucky with seasonal help, I worry about our aging workforce and attrition and how we're going to fill that. Because I don't know that these younger generations, like our mechanics, they're just not like a car mechanic. Those guys weld. They can inspect spray. They're very versatile, and we use them a lot. I mean, they can fix not just cars, but things with our buildings, things with our roof, things whatever. And I really worry about attrition and making sure that there are people that are willing to go out there and stand for 1 minute and count how many mosquitoes land on them, right? That they're willing to go pick up the traps, dump the traps, count how many mosquitoes are in there so that we know whether or not we can treat. So those are my 2 big concerns. But to keep using innovative technology and the appropriate control, whether that's a biological or a pesticide or source reduction, those are my goals. So,
Are Sentinel chickens still your main early warning system?
So Sentinel chickens, we still have the Sentinel chickens. Our traps are a better early warning than, because that tells us that we're getting an increase in the population. I get the trap reports every week, and I look, and I mean, I'm like, oh no, because that's the vector that has West Nile. And I look at the numbers, you know, and we have different traps. One of the things that we have done, again, over the past few years is we've expanded the numbers of traps that we have across the county. So we don't have the few that we had before. Now for CDC, it's a little different. It's a dry ice mechanism. For the rest of our traps, we use octanol for them. But our traps, our chickens, and the landing rate counts. Now I can tell you quite honestly right now we've suspended landing rate counts, and the reason is because of the West Nile, right? We have had 12 chickens that have tested positive this year for West Nile, and we haven't had any horses to date.
Good.
Okay.
Janice, we appreciate you spending some time with us, and you're welcome to make some closing remarks.
I would just like to ask for your vote either by early voting or absentee voting on November 6th. I believe that I have a record that I am proud of and that you as a taxpayer should be also proud of, and that I will continue to be your advocate in regards to your health and safety of all citizens in the county and of all our tourists, and I ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you.